And when I have an attitude of gratitude, I choose to be thankful for what I have. I choose. It's a choice. I have to be intentional about being thankful. I have to be intentional. It can't just happen. That I have to put it in my mind and choose to be thankful for all that I have. Too often do we get caught up in the trappings of this holiday season and think that because we don't have such and this and that, that we can't be thankful for what we have. Well, I want to challenge that thinking today, that whatever you have, we must choose to be thankful. And this season of Thanksgiving, and as Christmas also comes on the heels of this, we must choose to be thankful. It is a choice to be thankful. Now, some of you say, I don't have a whole lot to be thankful for, but I beg to differ with you. Just because you may not have a fine car or a big house and a lot of money in the bank does not mean you don't have a lot to be thankful for. There are some things to be thankful for that money just can't buy. I know last week we talked about having the peace that surpasses all understanding. There's some things that money just can't buy. So don't look at all of the trappings of Thanksgiving and think you don't have anything to be thankful for. There's a whole lot to be thankful for. And I'm so glad the psalmist in 107 decided to remind us of some of the things that we can be thankful for. If you don't have a list, let me give you a list of just 3 things to be thankful for. And if you can't think of anything to be thankful for, let me help you to be thankful. The first thing is that because Thanksgiving is a choice, it's an attitude, I choose to be grateful for God's goodness. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. For he is good. Now, see, we get caught up in the word good because we always think it means pleasant. Oh, let me talk to you about good for just a moment. See, good can also mean beneficial. I like beneficial better because when I think that everything that happens to me is good from the standpoint of beneficial, then it lines up with what I believe. That because God can be good in the toughest of times. God can be good when I'm still pressed down low. God can still be good when I'm sick. God can still be good when I'm broke. God can still be good when I don't have anything or anybody to depend on, because God's goodness is not predicated on what I think is good, but on what he thinks is good. It is beneficial for me. God's goodness becomes beneficial. He said, oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. He is the epitome of goodness. His very nature is good. But we just need to look at how we define good. If we only see good from being pleasant, then we'll only attribute good things to God. Let me talk to you for a minute. If you only thank God for the good things, you'll never have an attitude of gratitude. If you only thank God for the good things, because as I'm reminded, the Bible tells us it rains on the just and the unjust. And just because you have a little rain in your life, that does not exempt you for thanking God for being good. As my grandmother always reminded me, boy, things could always be worse. Yes. Things could always be worse. So I thank God God for his goodness, because in God's goodness, everything I go through becomes a benefit to me. It's beneficial for me that anything that happens to me, if I'm God's child, it must have passed by God's desk. And if it passed by God's desk, then God has put his seal of approval, his stamp on it. And if it goes by his desk, then what I'm going through somehow has a benefit for me. I wish I had some folk could just see the goodness of God in every situation they go through. If you could just see the goodness of God, that somehow that what you're going through is designed to even help you point to God. See, some of us don't get that. Some of us, see, we only praise God when things are good. You know, we give him a hand clap of praise when things are going good. But you can always tell when somebody's going through something, because those are the ones that just sit there and shake their head. They don't get it. They don't understand. They can't give God a hand wave of on praise because they're going through something. Maybe their KUB's about to be cut off. Maybe their house is in foreclosure. I don't know what you're going through. Maybe you're sick and the doctor has given you a bad prognosis, but I'm here to tell you, even in all things, we have to give thanks unto God, because God is still good. And just because you're going through something doesn't mean God ain't good. Oh, just because you're dealing with something doesn't mean God ain't good, because I want to tell you that what you go through is designed to still give God some glory in your circumstance. So the goodness of God is not predicated on what I'm going through. So this Thanksgiving, I choose to be thankful for God's goodness. Whether I have a house full of people or it's just me, myself, and I choose to be thankful. Whether I have a 10-pound or 20-pound turkey on the table or a little Spam in a can, I still choose. Because I tell you that the trappings of Thanksgiving don't make Thanksgiving. Oh, don't get caught up in the hype, because all Thanksgiving is designed to do is to help you gain a little extra, you know what I'm saying? So God's goodness is something that I choose to be thankful for. God's goodness. Just look back at your life, play the tape, and see God's goodness in your life. So God's goodness, I choose to be grateful for God's goodness. The second part of Verse 1 also says, for his mercy endures forever. So we choose to be grateful for God's mercy. My attitude, I'm choosing my attitude of gratitude because I am grateful for God's mercy. God's mercy. God's mercy says that God will not give us what we will not give us what we so justly deserve. You don't get what you deserve. And let me say this like this. We say that from the perspective of all of us are guilty. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Let me conjugate the word sin for you. I sin, we sin, they sin, us sin, all us sin. We've all come short of the glory of God. No, there is none righteous, no, not one. So I'm here to tell you, because we are all sinners, we all deserve to die. All of us deserve the death penalty, but because God's mercy has stepped in, we don't get what we so justly deserve. See, mercy only applies to the guilty. That's right. And because there's no one in here who's not guilty, it applies to all of us. Everybody is guilty. So we must choose to be thankful for God's mercy. We all deserve death. But I'm thankful that God's mercy does not have an expiration date. Because it says his mercy endures forever. Let me help somebody. That means the mercy that I got last year is still good this year. See, maybe you've never sinned and fallen short of the glory of God before, but while you were still in your sin, mercy was applied to you. Mercy was applied. You didn't die in your sins, so mercy was applied to you, because while you were out doing your thing, you didn't die in your sins. Mercy was applied to you. And the same mercy that applied to you while you were a sinner is still applied to you while you so sanctified. Because even our righteousness is as what? Yeah, praise the Lord. I'm glad somebody studies the Bible. So his mercy is good. Tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years from now, it doesn't have an expiration date. That means I will always have God's mercy in my life. His mercy is from everlasting to everlasting. I like the way Lamentations says it. It says, they are new every morning. His mercies are new every morning. That I have a brand new set of mercy. That I don't have to worry about the mercy, because the mercy that I got yesterday ain't the same mercy I need today. The mercy that I got last week is not the mercy that I need tomorrow. God gives me new mercy. Every morning we wake up, we get a brand new set of mercies. The fact that we are opening our eyes to see a brand new day is a definition of God's mercy. Because see, when you realize you could have just slept on into glory, slept on into eternity, but God woke you up this morning, your eyes beholding a brand new day is the very definition of his mercy. He gives us what we don't deserve. I'm thankful that we have a God that gives us what we don't deserve. And I choose to be grateful for that. I choose not to take it for granted. I choose, it affects how I think, and then it affects how I behave. My attitude becomes that of gratitude, because I realize that God's mercy is with me even now as I stand here, as you sit there, as we leave this place. God's mercy will be with us. I am thankful. We are thankful for God's mercy. And if you become thankful enough, you'll get this attitude of gratitude. Amen, amen, amen. Again, I choose to be grateful for God's goodness. I choose to be grateful for God's mercy. And before I take my seat, I'm choosing to be grateful for God's redemption. Look at verse 2. Look at verse 2. It says, for let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the enemy. In order to get the full meaning of what this text is saying, we must keep reading. The psalmist is really referring to God's restoration of Israel during their times of trouble. God was able to restore them, and to those who have been restored or redeemed, they should say so. They should tell somebody. They should tell somebody. They should tell somebody you've been redeemed, you've been restored. You need to tell somebody you've been bought back. Amen. Somebody. Let's go a little bit. Let's use an illustration that you can understand. Most of you are of the age that used to collect bottles and cans and stuff like that. And on glass bottles back in my day, when we would find them on the side of the road, they would say 5 cent redeemed. If you turn them back in, they worth 5 cents. Okay. So the glass bottle itself was worthless. See, the glass bottle itself was worthless. But what made it possible for redemption was the purpose that the glass bottle could be used for. See, the glass bottle would be cleaned up, taken back through a process, and then filled. See, you ain't never picked up a bottle on the side of the road. See, if you threw it on the side of the road, it meant that it was worthless to you because it no longer had anything in it. But the maker still saw something in it that he could use. That Coca-Cola and Pepsi saw that if I could just get the bottle back, I could clean it up and I could fill it up. And then it would have purpose again. See, so for some of you that have been tossed aside, thrown aside, I feel like you've been tossed aside and thrown aside, I want you to know that the Maker knows that you still have value. That he says, all I need to do is clean you up and fill you back up. And that's really what redemption means. So I have to, but guess what? In order to get you back, I have to pay a price. That's the redemption value. You understand that Mr. Pepsi had to give you a nickel to get his bottle back. So you understand that there had to a price had to be paid for your redemption. And that's where Jesus comes in. She says, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. So when God sent his son Jesus to redeem me for my... See, I need to tell somebody that I once had no value, but then there was a man named Jesus who paid the price for my sins that I can be redeemed again. See, the Maker put the value on me. See, you didn't put a value on me. You might think I don't look like anything, but I'm so glad that there is somebody who sees the value in me and paid for me to be used again. That's what redemption means for us, for the Christian, that Jesus has paid the price for our sins and he has cleaned us up and filled us back up that we might be used for his purpose. That's what redemption means. And I want to say that if you've been redeemed, you need to let somebody know. That's part of telling your testimony. That's part of not keeping it to yourself. That if God has done anything for you, and if God has done anything to you, and if God has done anything through you, it's your responsibility to tell somebody just how good God has been in your life. See, it becomes a choice. See, it's a choice. See, you can choose to keep it to yourself. But when you have an attitude of gratitude, you choose not to keep it to yourself. You choose to tell somebody, I was lost and then I was found. I was dead and then he made me live again. If it had not been for God on my side, where would I be? I can't hold it to myself. When you've really been redeemed and you see the goodness of God in your life, you just can't help yourself. You got to tell somebody that I've been redeemed. The old folk used to say, there was a song that said, I've been redeemed, bought with a price. Jesus has changed my whole life. If anybody asks you just who I am, tell them I've been redeemed. I've been redeemed. There's not enough people telling their redemption story. They want to keep it to themselves. They don't want to encourage the other folk and younger folk that are going through something now. But I want to tell you, every saint sitting on the pew wasn't always a saint. I want to tell you, every person that's saved now, that looks like they composed and they got it all together, young folk, I want to tell you, at one point in time, they may have been just like you. They may have been popping it and dropping it and locking it, but something happened to them and then they got saved. And then what happens is you got the audacity to keep it to yourself. You don't want to tell nobody what you've been through. You don't want to tell nobody what you've gone through. You don't want to tell anybody how God changed your life. But I want to tell you right now, you can help people by telling them what God has brought you through. That's the redemption right there. I choose to be thankful for God redeeming me. We must choose to be thankful for God redeeming us, for putting value back in us when no one else saw value in us. That's good right there. That when we think about God's goodness, God's mercy, and God's redemption, we should tell somebody. And we must choose to be grateful. It becomes an attitude. It becomes in how I walk. It shows up in how I talk. It shows up in how I live, not just on Sunday, but on Monday. It shows up in every area in my life, because now I have an attitude of being grateful. And my attitude is based on how I think and how I feel, and now it changes how I act. You have to act like you're grateful. Some of us don't act like we're grateful. We don't deserve any of this. We don't deserve any of this. We don't deserve any of this. But his goodness and his mercy and his redemption should give you enough to be thankful for. As you go into this holiday season, don't get caught up in what you ain't got. And I know that's bad English, but you know what I'm saying. Don't get caught up in what you're going to find on Thanksgiving Day or on Black Friday or Cyber Monday or Extra Cyber Tuesday or whatever days they call it. Let me help you. Because all of those things are going to leave you. All of those things are going to leave you short. They're not going to give you the feeling that you want. They're not going to satisfy you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody can tell me what you received 5 years ago, if you ain't wearing it now and it ain't outgrown you, or, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if it was so valuable to you, if it was so valuable. Now, I'm not talking about jewelry. Some things, wedding rings and stuff like that. But I'm talking about things that you wanted so bad and you thought, if I could just have these fine leather boots, or if I could just have this fine coat, or if I could, if I could have this fine car. Some of you, look, if you got a car 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it ain't the same car it was when what I'm saying is things lose value. You hear what I'm saying? Things lose value. Even the finest ring begins to dull. Even if you polish it, it begins to dull. Things will lose value. So I'm choosing to be grateful for something that won't lose its luster, that won't rust, that won't corrode. And that is the love that God has for me. He sent his son Jesus for us, and I'm thankful about it. I'm thankful about it. I'm thankful about it. And it comes off in the way we should live. Live like you're grateful. Live like you're grateful. You ought to be able every day to be thankful for something that God has given you. Every day you ought to be thankful for something that God has given you. Even if it's the same thing, you're still grateful, because what you got today don't mean you're going to get it tomorrow. So our attitude. Some of us have attitudes for the wrong reason. That's for another day, another sermon. We're going to work that one out another day, okay? We're going to work that one out. We're going to talk about the bad attitudes, but that's not going to be today. Because you might be sitting next to somebody with a bad attitude. I don't want to call you out. You might be sitting next to them. And you don't want to be rolling your eyes at them when the preachers start talking about bad attitudes. So I want you to have a good turkey day. I want you to have a good turkey day. So the attitude is what we choose choose to be thankful for all that God has given us. I want everybody to your feet. I'm done. I want everybody to your feet. I'm done.